This one, some updated temple news. Question asked. Was that question respected and given an answer to work along with them, or what happened there, Rebecca?
Oh, we'll see. This is very interesting. You know, I still keep in contact with all of the temple building cities that I've been working with all along. And of course, Fairview is the one that I think all of us followed along more closely than the others, watching the council meetings, understanding everything. So the mayor now of Fairview is John Hubbard. He was a councilman at the time of the passing of the CUP, all of that. And he was the only one that voted no, which is interesting. And now he's the mayor. So here's a picture on the left of what the McKinney, Texas temple was supposed to look like. It was very tall, almost 200 feet tall, very large, 65 feet walls. Through the process of all the negotiations and all those meetings, the LDS Church did agree, which I think is because of incredible public pressure and the revealing of the steeple doctrine, right, to a much smaller footprint here, 120-foot steeple and 35-foot walls. You know, it's much more manageable. But my headline here is Fairview Mayor asks LDS Church to lower the temple steeple height again as a gesture of goodwill. And so what happened exactly? Well, a couple of things happened just in the last couple of weeks that made this happen. So first of all, the mayor became aware of the Vienna, Austria temple. The plans, the drawing was just revealed, I think maybe 3 newscasts ago, we showed that. And it does not have a steeple at all. It's a beautiful building, no steeple. So the mayor was like, well, that's a gorgeous building. And how interesting, there is no steeple. He then became aware of the Yorba Linda temple, which is a temple that is having an open house right now. It's all over the news. People are praising its beautiful architecture, and its steeple is it's under 70 feet tall. And this was a temple that when the LDS Church insisted on what they needed with the McKinney, Texas temple, now named Fairview, we did an episode on Mormonish showing the Yorba Linda plans would meet every single thing they needed and be smaller and shorter. And you could still have all the space that you say that you need. I don't think they took us up on that, but we had done that episode. So the mayor became aware of that building and was thinking, that's interesting. And then the mayor received an invitation from Salt Lake to attend the open house in April of 2027. And he received a VIP invitation that he would be able to attend early ahead of anybody else, go through on a special guided tour. And he was extremely honored by this. And he knows there's a new administration. He's a new mayor. There's a new prophet. Maybe it's time to kind of come together and just talk about this a little bit and see if maybe there could be more that could be done for the community of Fairview in terms of the height and the light of the temple. And I think that's very reasonable. New mayor, new prophet, received an amazing invitation. You know, let's do something about this. So he wrote a letter to every member of the Q15 and the temple department and his area rep. He sent it hard copy and he sent it via email. And I'm just going to read this really quick because this mayor is a great guy, John Hubbard. He is just he's a class act. Let's just say that. So his letter says, Dear President Oaks, and again, this letter went out addressed to each member of the Q15. Thank you for the invitation to attend a private tour of the Salt Lake Temple next March. I plan to attend and very much look forward to the opportunity. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation for your engagement with the town of Fairview throughout the conditional use permit CUP process for the Fairview Temple. Which while perspectives within our community have varied, we are grateful for the efforts made to adjust the design, particularly the reduction of the steeple height from 174 feet to 120 feet. So he's off to a great start, complimenting them and how they work together with the town. Let's see, I'm going to go to my notes here so I can read a little closer here. As mayor, I continue to hear from residents who care deeply about our community and its future. Many appreciate the progress that has been made, yet there remains a consistent concern about the overall height and scale of the temple. These concerns are not about opposition to the temple itself, but about ensuring that it fits harmoniously within the character of Fairview. During the town council's discussion as part of the CUP approval process, it was testified repeatedly that the proposed steeple height was necessary for worship. We followed all these meetings. The newscast covered all these meetings. We saw these in real time. How many members got up, person after person, saying, I cannot worship without that height of the steeple. And of course, the mayor and the city council takes that on good faith. They don't know your religion. They're listening to you describe your religion. So he's a little confused here. He says, he heard you guys say this. However, there's always a however. More recent temple designs suggest there may be flexibility in this approach. The Yorba Linda, California temple features a steeple of approximately 70 feet, and the Vienna, Austria temple is planned without a steeple. The Yorba Linda Temple open house is currently underway, and the design featuring a 70-foot steeple is receiving widespread praise for both its beauty and its architectural balance. This positive reception highlights that a thoroughly scaled design can meet both aesthetic and functional goals. In that context, it is reasonable to ask whether a similar approach could be considered for Fairview. And there was a picture on the top of the Yorba Linda, beautiful Spanish-style architecture, and the rendering, the design for the Vienna, Austria temple. He goes on to say, as he closes, I want to acknowledge that the church has the legal right to proceed with the temple at the currently approved height. At the same time, this presents an opportunity to take an additional step, one that is not required, but would be deeply meaningful. A voluntary reduction in steeple height would demonstrate a strong commitment to partnership and responsiveness to the community and would go a long way toward bringing residents together. On a personal note, as a member of Vocal Majority, which is a choir, a well-known choir there in the Fairview area, I had the privilege of singing with the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square during Music and the Spoken Word in 2019. That message shared that day has stayed with me. While many things can be accomplished individually, the most meaningful accomplishments are achieved together. And here's my favorite paragraph, because I think he is alluding to the fact that he knows there may be some negative PR for the church right now with that lawsuit. He says, in today's environment where organizations are often under close public scrutiny, opportunities to take positive community-centered actions can have a meaningful and lasting impact. I believe a decision that reflects that spirit would be received in a very constructive and encouraging way. And then he just kind of goes on with a few more niceties and a signature. So a very, very nice letter, Mayor John. And it was picked up by various news sources. It's been in different newspapers. He's done a couple interviews on it. So this is fantastic. He's just asking again, new leadership, new mayor, could there be something that could happen? And like I said, very well received, except for not everywhere. And this is where I thought it got kind of interesting. So there is a site on Facebook called Friends of the Fairview, Texas Temple. Now, I don't know if it's an official church site. It does have a temple on it. I was confused, right? We're talking about confusion with John DeLynne's logo. Is this a, authorized site? I think you go into it and maybe it's not, but it's definitely full of the LDS residents in Fairview. And somebody posted, oh, look, the mayor is asking again that we renegotiate or lower the steeple height. And so these friends of the temple say things like, wow, Fairview is so racist and ignorant. You crybabies won't be bitching when your home values go up. Okay, that's a nice statement. Someone else says the mayor can go fuck himself. We need to get Muslims out of Texas. I love these LDS folks here. I don't think it's an official site, but I can't say for sure. There is confusion. Okay, I feel we've played nice and compromised. It's like they want to be in the news, praying it goes without litigation. I will stand with our church leaders as they navigate another hurdle. Let's find out where the mayor lives and go TP his house. That's the 2026 version of the Danites, I think, right? Go TP the mayor's house. It's religious discrimination based on ignorant fear. It's unconstitutional, and they all know it. That's why they zero in on height and light. I'm leaning toward the church pursuing legal action. Go back to the original steeple specs. Bigger building, higher steeple. These are awfully nice neighbors. So I won't read all of them. You can kind of freeze on the screen if you want, but these are the thoughts. The mayor can go F himself. Isn't that kind? Isn't that just polite? I just think that's great. And throughout this, there's this tone, a couple that say, get those Muslim buildings out of our town. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that kind of ironic given
Are they talking about the temple?
No, they're not talking about the temple in that case, but it's kind of ironic. They don't want those buildings there. And yet they can't understand how some of the residents might say about the LDS gigantic lit building. Maybe we don't necessarily, we want a smaller building. So it's kind of like, be a little more self-aware. So the poor mayor was stunned that the people in his town, he is their mayor, and they wrote things like they're going to TP his house and go F yourself, mayor, and a lot of other things. If you scroll back, you can read it. I won't read it for the sake of time. But he wrote a post back to these people, the Friends of the Temple, right? The Friends of the Temple. And he said, I was genuinely surprised by some of the reactions to my recent letter to the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My letter was written respectfully, and in a spirit of goodwill, I expressed appreciation for the church's engagement with Fairview throughout the conditional use permit process, and simply asked whether the church's approach to the steeple height had evolved, right? During the CUP hearing, many church members testified that the proposed steeple height was an important part of their worship. Since then, the church has announced the opening, and then he goes into, the two temples. He's wondering, kind of looks like you can worship without that steeple height, huh?
It's a nice way of saying you lied to our faces.
That is a very nice way of saying, yeah, he's saying I'm confused, but yes, you lied to our faces. My hope has always been to continue building a positive relationship. And again, you can freeze on this, but I just thought, this was just really bad form. And so to answer your question at the beginning, RFM, I don't know. All the news sources I saw reached out to the LDS Church for comment, and there was no comment. So I do not know if they will address this or if they will wait until he attends the open house. They wouldn't dare rescind his invitation, would they? I can't imagine that would happen. We'll have to see. Anyway, any thoughts or comments on Fairview? Back in the news, just saying, you know what? Let's talk. It looks like your perspective has evolved with these temples with much shorter or non-existent steeples.
Your thoughts, RFM?
It is a golden opportunity the mayor is giving to the church, which they will, of course, decline because they're busy shooting themselves in the foot again.
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought his paragraph noting that at times when bad publicity is around, as you noted, Rebecca, it would have been a great opportunity for the church to go above and beyond what it's required to do in this situation and to show those folks, as well as all of us on this side of the aisle, that this church does have a heart and does have the ability to be kind when such isn't necessary.
Can I underscore something here? Because it occurs to me there may be people looking at me and saying, well, of course he's saying that because he hates the church. No. All I'm doing is I'm saying these are golden optics for the church. I don't care if you're for it or against it. It's going to look great if it does this, which is why it won't.
Yeah, it would get a lot of press. It would get a lot of coverage that, a goodwill gesture. They have lowered the temple height again, because this was in the news everywhere. This got international attention. So it is an opportunity, but like you said, I don't know that they see it. They don't have to. And so why would they?
Getting a taller steeple by having its members lie in public to the city council is more important to the church than having the community get along.
Amen.